Dreams are made to be achieved.
Intuition production.
On this episode of Think Like a DJ, the Mixtape Podcast,
we explore and uplift Black womanhood with author, Priority Movement Clothing Company owner, and all-around boss lady, Milwaukee's own Stephaine Crosley,
as she reveals her personal untold story of repowerment, resilience, and redemption as a powerful millennial Black woman in America. Not only does Stephaine share with us new details about her personal life,
but she also takes us on a journey of Black woman futurism,
all while constructing a new vision for healthier relationships between Black women and Black men. There's absolutely no barrier Black women can't overcome. They bend and don't break. In her own words,
fuck them barriers. If your life was a party, how many would RSVP?
If you only live once, would your one party become a party of one?
Join us live in the mix as we first pick our tempo and ultimately rock the party.
This episode is sponsored by
Head Start MKE
and Intuition Productions. Ken earned a Master's of Science in Business Administration from Cardinal Stritch, and I'm a published author and licensed wealth coach.
For private small business consulting, book coaching, or simply to share your story with us, write us today at TLADJ Podcast at gmail.com.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen,
Miss
Stephaine Crosley. Y'all know what it is. What's happening?
Woo!
Oh yeah. We got the all-star in the building, y'all.
We need all the special sound effects. So thank you guys for having me. I appreciate it.
No, we thank you for taking out the time just to speak with us on the history of you and the priority movement and the things that you have going. Before we give our listeners a view into who you are and what you have going on, just give them a bit more insight. Tell our listeners a bit more about you, Stephaine.
So I always hate this question because I hate talking about myself. But I am Steph Crosley, born and raised in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. I love the city. I love being here and being able to contribute positively to our city. And I say that from a perspective of there are a lot of diamonds in the rough in the city. And I feel like I was one of those diamonds that came to light. So I am super dedicated to finding and not finding, but, just bringing to light those other individuals. So in all my work, that's always the motive. So in addition to being Steph Crosley, I'm also an author of 2 self-development books, the owner of the Priority Movement, as well as the owner of Real Talk LLC, which is a platform that motivates and encourages healthy dialogue between members of the community. Other things I do, I'm the host of the men and women's basketball programs, the MC at the basketball games.
Where at?
At Marquette University. And I'm a program manager for a nonprofit called Secure Futures, where, our mission is to empower teens through financial education. So I wear a lot of hats. But I love everything that I'm involved in has a great purpose. So that's what keeps me motivated. And that's just a little bit about myself.
So before you were doing all these hosting gigs and writing these books and, just being this excellent person that you are for the city of Milwaukee, tell us about your earlier years, maybe a bit, family, and those sort of vital lessons or jewels that you take from your childhood that continue to groom you as a woman now.
Yes, absolutely. So, as I mentioned, born and raised in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. I think that every person, born in the inner city, everyone has a story. And what we do with our story impacts our lives more than we know. So, my mom growing up, and if I get a little too deep, just let me know. But
that's what we're here for.
My mom was on drugs. My father was incarcerated. So I was that youth who, went from one relative to the next relative. I've experienced homelessness, going without, whether it was food, whether it was out shelter, whether it was out clothes. I have, experience in those areas. But life has a funny way of teaching us. So through it all, I made it. But I just happen to play basketball. I always attribute, my growth to basketball because basketball was my outlet. Growing up, I was a very angry youth because I didn't know how to express any other emotion but anger. Um, I didn't know that it was okay to cry. I didn't know it was okay to be happy, or even what happiness felt like. I don't think I truly knew what it meant to feel loved as a child. So I grew up very insecure. But again, basketball was my outlet. I happened to be good at it, and it opened up so many doors for me as it relates to, just being able to see outside of Milwaukee, being surrounded by people who love you, even if it was because you were good at something. Just experiencing that ounce of love was enough for me to want more of it, to crave more of it, and I say that because eventually that did play a part in, the rest of my journey throughout life. But yeah, and it also opened the door for me, to attend college. I went to basketball on the full ride. I was the first person in my family to graduate college. So that's my upbringing and how I got to this point today.
Speak on some how some of those earlier life situations with the experiences, because I mean I've known you for 10 piece at least. I
Longer
didn't
than
know these
that.
things. I mean, I said at least,
Yeah.
I'm not too good with the numbers, but
Right.
I mean, it's been
Give
some
me my
years that I've
credit,
known you.
Ken. I've been knowing you for a while now.
Yeah, for sure. We got good relations. And so I just want to know, because you're uncovering things that I didn't know about you.
Me either.
How
It's a
these
couple things I'm learning just now.
Right. And so, we go back to high school.
Welcome to my
And
life.
so just wondering how the experiences that you went through, homelessness, lacking things and resources and the love, has translated to the things that you are interested in, the books that you've produced or published rather, and just your overall sort of motto or mantra that you have.
Yeah. So, if you look at Maslow hierarchy, that first level, before, like, it's security, it's shelter, like that, the basic needs have to be met.
Needs. Mm-hmm.
And I think that for me as a child, not really understanding what was really going on, and not knowing that, basic needs weren't necessarily met when I was older. And I questioned a lot of stuff, and I didn't know exactly what I was questioning or why I was questioning. But, once I learned, it was like, damn, why was I not good enough to feel loved? Why was I not good enough to feel protected? Why was I not good enough to, be told that I'm beautiful? And one thing I've learned too is, in any situation, we can fight or flight, and growing up in the inner city and seeing what, drugs did to my mom. And shout out to her. Today's her birthday. So shout out to my mom.
Hey,
That's
happy
what's up.
birthday, Mom.
Happy birthday.
Because I have to call her. I haven't even called her. That's sad. I haven't even called her yet, but I'm going to do that.
It's early in the day. It's early.
It is. It is. The glass is always half full. But no,
Yeah.
and even understanding, like, it's crazy because my mom was on drugs and she did do a lot of stuff that put us in jeopardy of losing, and we've lost a lot because of her. Waking up on Christmas and going to sleep and having presents under the window. We didn't have a Christmas tree, but waking up and Christmas presents are gone. But then walking around the complex and seeing other kids with the things that were ours, that was like a slap in the face. However, it's something about a mother's love, because even to this day, like, I don't hold that against, like, I don't have any resentment towards my mom. And I think because of that, I try to see the glass as half full, and this is what life has taught me. And going back to fight or flight, what life has taught me is, one, you have to be forgiven. To make peace with any situation, you have to forgive. And you have to. It challenges you to see perspectives that are different from your own. Like while I was going through all of this, I could only see this angry child. Like, I questioned my worth. I questioned even a lot of times I questioned, my existence on earth. Right. But then too, once I became educated, and I learned more about addiction. My undergraduate is in communications and social work. So, I learned a little bit more about addiction, and I tried to figure out, like, where was my mom coming from? Addiction is real. That's borderline a disease, So even though, like, she put us through so much, because I was able to take that and learn from it, and knowing that everyone has their own journey and their own story to tell, although that is my mother and it's her sole responsibility to care for me, because I was able to learn so much from this experience, I never resented my mom. Like, I still love her love her to death to this day. But
what is that? It sounds like resilience, endurance. I'm hearing you say all of those things.
It's a whole lot of that, Martinez. I feel like it's a lot of
what is it in you, though? Specifically, what have you identified in you that has allowed you to transcend and blow past resistance with persistence? What is it in you that's been able? The subtitle of Think Like a DJ is 7 Steps to Spin Poverty into Prosperity. What is it in you what quality do you have if you step outside of yourself and play your own best friend? What quality do you have that's allowing you to take poverty and spin it into prosperity? Because a lot of students and a lot of young people are still living in poverty. They feel like they don't have their own bootstraps. But it sounds like you created your own.
I think it's a combination. And one of the lessons that I learned that I was able to apply, and once I applied this, it made it made sense, right? We're not living for ourselves. Okay. So, and what I mean, our life is not our life. The people in front of us, they've done things for us to make ways for us. And what we're doing now, we're creating opportunities and we're passing that down for other people. And we'll enjoy it. We'll enjoy what we can while we're here. But what we're doing now, we're leaving legacies and we're teaching others how to live their life. And once I learned that, I think I stopped, I just learned to embrace life as we know it, make the best of every situation. And I think in me, one thing I will identify is resilience. And just knowing that I have a greater purpose on this earth and I'm not leaving until it is fulfilled. I understand that. And anyone in any situation, you have a choice. You can fight or flight. You can run from. I could have easily been a statistic. Everything was lined up. No father, inner city, MPS, black, a woman. Everything was literally insecure. Everything was literally lined up for me to be a statistic. I had to decide that I wanted better and I wanted more. And it was not easy. But because I knew I wanted more, I never gave up. So I would say definitely resilience. I always tell, my nieces and nephews, I tell the youth that I'm working with, work ethic and good character. Those are 2 things people cannot take from you.
I want to dive a little bit into, young women, young Black girls between the ages of 9 and 13 are right now in the triple pandemic that we live in with this Black Lives Matter. With everything that's going on with politics and COVID-19 and the economy being screwed economically, there's a triple pandemic that's really affecting young Black girls. And that age range of 9 to 13, they're on the rise as one of the highest demographics that are dealing with suicide. And I heard you mention insecurity, and I married that to priority. So how did you flip that insecurity from internally being insecure and not seeing yourself in representations in the media and out there in the world? How do you take that for a young girl that's living right now? What message can you give her to? What did you do, and what message can you give her to take that insecurity and turn herself into the priority in the movement that she's that you already put out there in the world?
Yep, absolutely. So, one thing I learned about I've been learning a lot of stuff, so I'm gonna keep going. So I apologize.
Tell us what you know, Steph. We're trying to see what you learn.
I'm a lifelong learner. So what I will say is that, working on ourselves, that insecurity, like that's an everyday job. And we have to see beauty in within us every single day, even in our ugly moments. That's every day, because like you mentioned, there's the representation we see in the media, social media, what we hear from Black men oftentimes, our lack of relationships we have with parent or guardians, or friendships. um, we have to be able to find some type of beauty in ourselves, where we're constantly working on not losing ourselves and all of that, right? So it's a huge task, but you have to do it. I'm gonna say I was insecure, very insecure, up until I was 28, and I'm only 33. That was 5 years? So priority, if before it was priority, it was with love. And I'm gonna tell you how I got to this point. 28, I had just got out of a relationship, a toxic relationship. And it wasn't like it wasn't physically abusive or anything of that nature, but it was it was toxic in a sense that the relationship was just unhealthy, a lot of insecurities, and that led to a lot of arguing, and it was just uncomfortable. The silence would be so loud that the energy would be off, and it affected both parties, I think. But I got out of that relationship. I knew that relationship was over before it actually ended. But once it ended, it was like I was so depressed, because I was so used to the toxic part of the relationship became so comfortable. I was comfortable with insanity. And I think a lot of people get into that, where it's like, okay, this is what it is. This is what I'm going to accept. This is what I know. So you know what I'm saying? And it's so unhealthy. But in our lives, we see so many unhealthy relationships that we take what we can get. That's why I'm such an advocate for healthy relationships. And we can get into that conversation later. But I went through this breakup, and I was depressed for about 3 months. I had a wall painted in my house black, and I would just sit there, call into work. I didn't want to be bothered. I'm one of those people who seclude themselves when, I'm going through things, because I'm supposed to be this strong person. I can't be around people when I'm weak, right? This is the mentality I had. I can't be around you if I'm weak, because you.
In addition to that, you don't want to feel like you're going backwards. You don't want to feel like you, the old version of you, the younger version. You
Right, but you know what? I never grew out of that. I was still that person. That's the thing. I was still that person at this time. So here I am, 28. However, what I did, Martinez, I swept those thoughts under the rug, but they were still stuck in my subconscious mind. Right. So I'm still battling those same insecurities. I'm still going through the motions, but not owning it. I never owned it until, I'm sitting there for 3 months straight. I lost so much weight. It was ridiculous and everything. Right. But then I had to ask myself, I'm like, God, he has me here for a reason. I need to figure out what the reason is. Right. So I had to, I end up one day, I end up questioning myself, like, Stephanie, like, how are you contributing to this relationship? How are you contributing to the demise of these relationships? So that wasn't the first relationship that ended, right? What are you doing? Like, it's easy for us to point fingers at everyone else. It's so easy for us to, say, I'm not insecure. Like, if that's a sign of weakness, don't ever call me insecure. Right. I didn't own that.
Right.
And then once I had to sit down and I really thought it through, and I'm like, no, there's a reason that everything ends the same way, and you're the common denominator. What are you doing? So I really had to reflect on myself and take ownership for how I got to that point. And that's exactly what I did. I took some time, and I really just tried to, like, okay, well, let me think, why am I like this? And it really went back to my roots, the lack of relationship I had with my parents and other adults. Like, people used to ask me all the time, who's your role model? I don't have a role model. I can't tell you anyone I really looked up to, and I'm like, I want to be just like this person when I grow up. I think the first person I ended up wanting to be like was Tamika Catchings. She's a WNBA player. But before that, it was like, I don't have any role models. I didn't have anyone to uplift and motivate me, and that was a problem. So as I start going through all of these scenarios and situations, everything in my subconscious mind, it brought it to the forefront. And that was when I realized, like, no, you need work on yourself. And I started to work on myself, and I started to love on myself. And, you know, the things that I did not like, I found beauty in. And it's not an overnight process. You know, as I mentioned, I'm still working on those things, but I'm in such a better space where I refuse to disrupt my peace and my happiness, you know, because I come a
Say
long
that again
way.
for the people in the back. You refuse to
I
do what?
refuse to disrupt my peace and my happiness. We choose that. We can choose that. And that's basically, you know, really controlling what we can control. Our problem is we try to control things that are not in our control. And then when it doesn't work in our favor, then we get, you know, we get ourselves worked up. Control what you can control. Make peace with what you can't. So, you know, that's really it. 5 years ago is where I really start to develop my sense of self. That's when Steph Crosley really start popping. I wrote the book with love. I wrote the book with love because
I
even
want to
though,
dive into that. Tell us more about that title and what that means.
yes,
And I want to know more about your book and how that contributed to your healing process. Did you go to therapy? Did you know, Black folks don't want to seek out no
they
help.
don't.
Did you seek out
Well, we don't.
support? How did that all work?
Let me say we don't. Because I don't want to just say, you know, Black people don't, because I'm Black and I didn't either. I did see a therapist a couple times. And I think I wasn't in the right headspace to see the therapist. So anything she was telling me, I was just like, yeah, you know what, whatever. Forget what you talking about, right? So I don't discourage. I mean, I don't encourage that. I'm a huge advocate for mental health. But you know, for me, I did write a book, and that was very therapeutic. And I laid everything out on the line. So with love came about because even during this time of depression, I had a platform and people still looked for me to be this positive person. And it was in that moment I questioned myself. I said, what happens if I'm no longer here, or I can no longer give people anything to look forward to, anything positive to look forward to, because I'm not in a positive space? What can I leave behind, tangible, that they can always refer back to? And that's when the light bulb went off, like, write a book. So it started off as an urban fiction book. My guilty pleasure are urban fictions. And I was going to try to tell the same story through urban fiction. But then I'm like, Stephanie, no, be vulnerable. Like, what do you have to lose? Own who you are. And these are people who love you to death. Like, own who you are, right? Maybe you can help someone else's story, help them come out of whatever dark place they're in. So I end up, I was sitting in my office and at work, and I'm like, I'm like, damn, like I don't remember much as a baby, as a child, as a toddler. So I start asking these questions, and that's how the books, started to pop up. And the book With Love is founded on the idea that there's only two people in this world that's obligated to love us, and that's our parents, other than God, right? That's our parents. But what happens if that love is tainted or non-existent? How has that shaped our view on love, our ability to give love, our ability to receive love? Because that's a learned behavior, right? It's a taught emotion. So then, so it's me. With Love is me telling my journey in detail, just about my upbringing, but it's also a self-reflection book. So I always say, I tell my story because people saw me as this macho figure, right? This wonderful person. Well, let me just peel back some layers for you. And if you can see me in this vulnerable state and still think highly of me, what can you say for yourself?
For yourself.
Exactly.
Right,
and that's
right.
Again, my mission, I truly believe my mission here on earth is to make life better for other people. And I'm such an advocate for, self-reflection, self-love, in everybody, because I think that the world will be a better place if we all practiced healthy self-love habits and tips. But the book is a workbook format. So I tell readers, you get back what you put in. You can read the book and be done, and you'll be like, oh, that's a good book. Or you can be like, wow, I really learned some things about myself. And it goes back to parenting. If you're a parent and you're reading the book, like you'll be reflecting on your parenting skills, and maybe you'll see some things align with how you grew up, and you'll be like, damn, that's why I do this. So again, that's With Love, and that was the first product I released in 2016. So
A dope product. I would say that you're speaking highly about relationships and the effect that it's had and the sort of responsibility, not only, on one side as, being a lover or someone or a friend or things of that nature, but just the nuances of relationships. On social media, you often speak highly about Black men. Like, how do you continue to have such positive relationships with Black men and stay optimistic about Black men when they're being social media is just running us through the mud, and then you got the cops that's killing us, and then you got other women who don't think as highly or as intelligently as you do about Black men or have to share the same optimism. Like, how can or what drives that?
I don't know. I love the Black man though. I might be slightly obsessive with Black men. But I just think that, and I don't know
what you love about him. Tell us what you love about
I think that I think that the Black man is
we like words of affirmation.
So
Black
delicate.
Men like that words of affirmation.
The Black man is so delicate, right? I think that in my love for, I think having nephews, having a Black brother, Black cousins, a Black father, although our relationship isn't the best. It's not a bad relationship. It's just like kind of non-existent. But like knowing like amazing Black men, I just think the Black man is just so amazing. A little bit, it's a little bit complex. But I think that as a Black woman, it's good for Black men to see a Black woman uplift them and not want anything from them.
Our first example is our mothers. And so it's so, you speaking of relationships, and that's what's just dancing in the front of my, frontal lobe. You know what I mean? Just thinking on those things, like, is it the foundation of you not having a relationship with your father that gives you continued hope for Black men?
Yeah, it could be. And I think, you know what? At first, Kim, it used to be like I used to like almost resent Black men, and then don't bring an older Black man in my space. I would be uncomfortable, and I had to ask myself, like, why is it this way? That's when I really started. And then God brought one of the most amazing men into my life, which was Q. And that's one of my really good friends, Q Elamine. Shout out to Q.
Okay, Q Elamine from where?
Young Enterprising Society.
Okay, way to plug them in there. Anytime we have guests, we want to hear where they from.
Yes, absolutely.
But
Q brought me, or God brought Q into my life, and that's when I was able to. I think that was really the first male that I was really close to, and it was nothing like sexual or nothing like, okay, where we taking it. I think I met Q at a piano bar. I was doing my real talk shows, and and I stopped doing them. He like, why'd you stop? And I'm like, because listen, it's too much work. I'm a one person team, and I just don't have time. He said, no, that what you're doing is good. You need to keep doing it. And I said, well, are you going to help me? Straight like that. And he said, yes, this is somebody I don't know. And ever since then, like, we've been stuck. That's like, so yeah. So yes, my relationship or lack of relationship with my father, it allowed me to drift off away from men. But I think after writing and meeting good Black men, it drew me back, and it made me look a little deeper into the Black man.
Can you talk about that more? The tools of the master have been working on us and our community for a long time to keep us separate in the Black household, and it all starts there. What do you think Black men and women can do to be more unified? What are some of the things that they can actually implement to build more of a common
Put
ground?
Our guards down. Put our guards down. Stop expecting. I think that we have this. I feel like we have, like, we as people, we look at other people and we're like, okay, we already look and see what we can get from them. Or, what I'm saying? It's always, I don't know if every relationship is genuine. And that's life. They're not going to be genuine and just pure, right? But they can be. They really can be, like, just going into something and not expecting anything. I think we place expectations on each other, when we don't fully understand each other. And when the Black man falls short, then all Black men fall short. When a black woman falls short, then all black women fall short. And then that's when you hear those statements: all black women do this, all black men do this. And I hate it. I hate it. I think that, one, we need to let our guards down, but two, just try to get to know each other. How do we're not competitors. We're on the same team. Essentially, we're on the same team. We're raising black men, they're raising black daughters, so I think it's a level of understanding that we have to get on the same page.
I think one of the most important parts of the conversation that I remember with Steph was when she talked about the natural skills, gifts, talents, and abilities that black women naturally have, that they're naturally born with, that make them prime for black leadership. From the slave era to the civil rights movement, black women have always led from the back. Now they're leading the charge without asking permission to do so. There are some natural skills they already possess that make them prepared for a time such as this. I mean, look at my mama. I done seen my mama create something from nothing. I done seen my mama make mashed potatoes from flakes. So y'all already know what it is. Black women are very creative. Let's get back in the mix.
I want to talk a little bit more about your business endeavors and more about what natural characteristics that you have that contribute to your business success. I think a lot of times we don't see ourselves as the expert in the space when we young people of color. Talk about what are the 3 characteristics that black women naturally have that they might not even be aware of that's served you well in your business. What are some characteristics that you have that have naturally that are there that have really that you think are common amongst black women just in general that have really impacted your bottom line and increased your sales and your impact in your business?
I would say work ethic. If you don't know nothing else, a black woman's gonna make some stuff happen. And as I mentioned, you cannot take away a work ethic, and that's something that was not necessarily taught to me. It's not something I picked up on watching someone else. I can't say that. But it's something that had to be in me. Like, that's natural. Like, I'm not going to get outworked. And I will attribute that to basketball as well. I was an undersized post player. And my motto was, I'm not going to get outworked. I don't care how much shorter I am of you. I don't care how much faster you are of me. You will not outwork me. And I think that's just a natural. That's something in all of us. And I don't care what profession you are. Black women are climbing the ladders. Okay. They're being, and I think that the world wasn't ready to see it. And we needed to see a glimpse of another black woman making it and showing us that, no, this is possible. And that just lit up the fire that's already in us. So that's why you're seeing more black businesses. You're seeing more black women on television. You're seeing more, it's becoming a norm for black women to blossom. I love being a black woman. I'm sorry. I love being a black woman. And the more you see it, like, if it doesn't inspire you, then that's something within you, So I do think a work ethic is something within us. I think that our sauce, like our culture, just who we are as just black people, but more specifically a black woman. I wouldn't even say.
What's that black girl magic?
You know what
I'm
saying?
That?
Like, it's
I'm not a black woman.
It's a characteristic.
What is that black girl magic?
But it's that power. It's that you see the memes that said when God added a little bit of, and then He pouring a whole lot of something. Like when God made black women, that's what He did. He went overload, and we got a little magic. We got magic in us. He poured that magic in us for sure. And I don't think we all know that. It's not all. And again, that goes back to what we're being taught and how we approach the situation based on what we've been through and our perspective on things. So not all black women know that they have that black girl magic in them, but it's in them. It's in us. So I would say black girl magic, a work ethic, and then I'll say just compassion. The black woman bends every freaking day. The black woman, but she never breaks. And people will probably say it's unhealthy for how often and how much and how flexible a black woman bends, but it's because of her heart. She's gonna do. She's going to do what she can for all those she loves, and even after that,
and even at her demise too.
Gift and a curse.
That's the shit
gift
right
and a
there.
Curse.
That is,
and that's what a real black man feels. That's why I had to tap into it, because like that's at the root of who you are. That's at the root of your relationships. So tell me this then, what do you think, what do you see as the future of Black women as business owners and entrepreneurs? Like the landscape is changing. We got Megan Thee Stallion, you know what I mean?
We got Kamala Harris.
Yeah,
Come on,
shout out
Kamala.
to
Yeah,
those
you know what I
Black
mean? You got
queens.
all of these Black queens, like you said, that are doing pivotal and positive things and changing the landscape, changing mindsets. What do you see the future for Black women as business owners and
Oh, it's
entrepreneurs
only up.
being?
It's only up from here. At one point, I was in a cultural competency training, and we talk about the Black relations and how Black women are viewed.
Diversity of thought
But
and
then in
all of
my
that
mind,
stuff.
I'm like, or no, not in my mind. I actually said, I don't know about what y'all seeing, and I'm one of two Black women in the room. I said, but I feel damn good to be a Black woman in society right now. I get we have a lot of freaking barriers, but the amount of empowerment, the amount of inspiration that is out here that we're starting to see more of, fuck them barriers. I have so much in me that it's like I'm running through those barriers. It may be a little challenging, but I'm gonna get through because I know
Flex on
listen,
them, Steph.
I know
Flex
for a
on them. Come
fact I
on.
got it in me, and I got a great support system. It's not just me. It's not just me. I that's one of my lessons. I think it's a question you gonna ask a little later, but having a team is so imperative in the process. And being a Black woman and having Black men supporting the way they have been, me specifically, and I see it in how some Black men are uplifting their wives like that. Listen, those and when I see it, I always share it because I need for everybody who seeing me, they need to see this. That this isn't a fluke. This is really happening. So the future for Black women
No,
and entrepreneurship and business, man, I can't even paint that beautiful picture.
for sure.
Just know it's there, mixed with a lot of bright colors.
So you've been in sports, communication, hosting events, public speaking, all of these different sort of industries. Want to speak on how you as a Black woman how have you been accepted, or how you been their response to you as far as your you flexing your muscles when you get in those industries, because a lot of men just in general don't want to see a strong Black woman in these positions and speaking as eloquently and as intellectually as you can. And just then speak on more about what being in those different industries has taught you as a Black woman.
Life comes full circle, right? So for me, I originally went to college for TV and radio broadcasting, right? I switched majors after the first year because when I learned I had to be in front of the camera and I had to read. So I grew up with a speech impediment and all of this stuff. And then you mix that with my insecurity, it scared the hell out of me. So I dropped that major and went to something more safer, something I was passionate about, but something more safer. That's how I got into social work. But I also double majored in communications, just learning more about just the communicating process. And I say that to say life does come full circle, but when you aren't prepared for something, God will put you in a position to learn. Okay. So no, I did not get that degree in TV and radio broadcasting, but I was put in a situation to just observe, to do more research, to do more learning, to watch Black women excel in this field before it was my time to do so, to watch how the media painted Black women so I don't want to say to avoid that same stereotype, but I could learn how to finesse the system. I really hone in on, I love the one thing I love about myself is that I am so versatile. You might see me twerking on the camera, but you will see me at a board meeting and being able to present very articulately. I'll also I also spread love and I also may, I'm human. I have different elements about myself, right? But the fact that I'm able to know which foot to put first in different scenarios all came from learning. And I think that has been, and once I learned, I said to myself, I'm not allowing society to place me in a box. So I'm going to be myself. And if you don't like it, then maybe this wasn't the right fit, but I refuse to be anywhere where I have to be uncomfortable. Like I can, speak fluently. I can do all of that, but I can also give you a little bit of personality. So you'll see, you're able to see bits and pieces of me. So that has been the whole, with the whole versatility and being able to step into different rooms of things. It all came from just learning and observing and knowing what I wanted from this whole experience.
And a certain fearlessness too, getting into uncharted, territories, or getting into unknowns is extremely scary. So, then you speak on your insecurities, and so I can see how in an unknown situation, the insecurity could be heightened. You know what I mean, and it could essentially take over and have you as the puppet. You know what I mean, and have you acting out whatever fear that you might have. Tell us about overcoming those fears and what it takes as a Black woman to, one, still deal with men after shortcomings, still go through industries who haven't really accepted you and have yet to accept Black women. And then just talk about a bit more in regards to how you've overcome these things, if you can, a bit more.
I think that it's a combination of things. One, that whole self-love piece. I won't, I don't think I will ever not mention that. Knowing who you are is so important. Okay. Knowing who you are, knowing who you are as it relates to what triggers you. And then asking yourself, why does that trigger you is important, because that will keep you away from moving forward. Also, who you surround yourself by, that's extremely important. I have a wonderful support system that I wouldn't change for this world. But these are also, when I say support systems, these are not all yes men and women. They challenge me, and that helps me to become more comfortable in my role in society. And to help me to overcome my fears as well. Because if I have someone that I love and I know who loves me unconditionally, challenging me, and it's only for to benefit me in the in the long run and my progression in life, I have no choice but to listen, to take heed. And half the time I don't want to listen. There's times I disregarded everything everyone said around me and went forward, and it was the wrong move. So just being able to have people who are transparent and honest with you is important to overcome fears. That belief in yourself is important. And I say that is gained from being alone sometimes, and not alone all the time. But I think that, as people, we get so caught up in wanting to be around people all the time. We want to be at the hottest places at all times, that we have very little time for ourselves. And that's one of the reasons. That's one factor as to how priority came about. But we want to, we want to be around everyone else, that we don't take time for ourselves. And because we don't take time for ourselves, we tend to not know who we are. And so we don't know how to fight fear. We don't know how to fight fear because we don't know what our strengths are, so it's a combination of things. But at the end of the day, you have to paint your picture. You have to see your picture. You have to be able to see that vision. And then you have to take the steps necessary to accomplish that. Understanding that there's going to be different roadblocks. There are going to be detours along the way. Again, you have to know what the vision is, and that's what keeps you motivated, and that's what keeps you going.
But I'm curious to know, from your side of the table, what is your perspective on how Black women leverage their fluidity in corporate America to Black men who have no space or no open door in corporate America because of, when we walk in the room, it's like a threat, it's like a buck, or it's like a coon, or it's like somebody coming in to take. Automatically, it's like you can't hide behind anything being a Black male. Not saying that Black women are doing that. I don't think that they're hiding behind anything. I'm just curious to know your perspective on just like how you talked about Q gave you a supporting pillar. What I want to know from your side of the table, as a successful Black woman, knowing that women are going to be, right now, they're 3 to 5 times more likely to be successful as entrepreneurs than any other demographic. So knowing that that's on the rise, tell me more about the obligation you feel as a Black woman to leverage your fluidity in corporate spaces to benefit Black men who may be looked at as more threatening.
I think at some point we have to come to the table Black men and Black women and understand that we're a team. As a team member, like we have to work together. So we, as a Black woman, I can do everything I can. My obligation specifically is to always uplift, open the door. If I'm up, I will reach my hand back down to make sure I'm pulling the next person up, specifically a Black man. Always a Black woman, but also the Black man, So, and I will always, I feel like that is my obligation because I'm raising my nephews, I'm raising Black men. So yes, that is my obligation, but I also think that it's time we come to the table and we work together to make sure that, one, as Black women, we understand what our role is, but as a Black man, what your role is too, and how we work together to make sure that you're walking through the door with us. Okay, as a team, like we as on a team, every player has a role. One player might be the superstar in this situation. If the superstar is the woman, the Black man has to be a team member, but he has to also be able to check his ego and his pride, because that's one reason why, we don't work well as a team. I mean, it's a lot deeper than it's a lot deeper than just the Black woman's obligation, because the Black man has to be able to accept what the Black woman is offering, and we have to be able to come to the table to know what the mutual goal is, and learn to work together. Like, if the Black woman needs to sit at the table first then we need to devise a plan. Mm-hmm. And I strongly I do feel that way. I think that sometimes we can put a lot of pressure on one of the other one, right, over the other, when in actuality, like, this is a team. This is a team. And Ken, I know one of the questions, I don't know how much time, we probably don't have much time, but one of the questions was, what's my greatest accomplishment? And that was, in all honesty, if I could take a moment, was going to college on a basketball scholarship. Basketball was my greatest accomplishment. At 33, I've been removed 10 years. And I'm going to tell you why that was my greatest accomplishment. I went into a program along with 3 other women. We signed to a program that only won 8 games in 2 years. When we left that program, we won 2 Horizon League championships, only 2 in school history, went to the NCAA tournament twice, only 2 times in school history. During this 4-year stint, I had to learn, I had to learn a little bit more about myself. I had to learn how to be a team player, what it really meant to be a team, and what my role had to be. I went from being a star player, city player of the year here in Milwaukee, to having to be a role player in college. And I had to set aside all ego, all pride to make that happen. And I did it. I did it with confidence, and I owned my role. Basketball has taught me, the ability, how to communicate effectively, not to just speak, not to just listen because I'm told to listen, but to listen to understand. Basketball taught me the importance of time, the shot clocks, the time, the second half is winding down. You're down 2 points. What are you going to do? Decision making in tough situations. Once we perfected that and we walked away with those 2 rings and the only 2 rings in school history, I said, this is my greatest accomplishment, because I learned so much more. I learned so much about myself and life skills that I'm able to apply to life for the rest of my life. Like, that is by far my greatest accomplishment. So when I go back to the Black man and Black woman and what we can do together, we have to learn to set aside our pride. We have to learn to set aside our egos. We have to learn to set aside expectations and come together for a common purpose with a mutual goal. And once we're able to do that, we can kick America's ass.
As a team.
As a team.
As a team, I like that. Can you we want to go into the final section of our show where we just ask you one main question, and then we're going to ask you some rapid rotation questions where it's word association. You just tell us the first thing that comes to mind. Is that okay with you?
Yes.
So the first question is complete the following statement. The next 400 years for Black people will be what?
Amazing.
From the 7 steps in the Poverty to Prosperity book, Think Like a DJ, which one most resonated with you and why?
It was 2. It was really 3, but I'm gonna choose 2. 1, pick a tempo, because you have to have a game plan. No matter, you have to have something. I know personally, like, I'm big on meditation. I'm big on, mindfulness, just sitting down and visualizing what's next. So having that plan, but then also putting it into action. So that'll be one. And then I was torn between Feel the Beat and Rock the Party. But as I mentioned, our life is for the next generation. So of course, Rock the Party was very close to being one. Leave intergenerational legacy and wealth.
Yep. That's dope. Well,
Yes.
thank you for being on our show. We got a couple more. We just want to go through the rapid rotation game and have you just answer what you feel comes to mind with these phrases. You just let us know what you're thinking.
All right. What comes to mind, Steph, when you think of Black excellence?
Oh, I probably suck at this game. Black excellence. I just thought of a whole bunch of Black power. Like I saw a whole bunch of Black power fists. So we're gonna go with Black power.
Okay, say no more. Leadership.
Oh, we're lacking it right now.
You got it. Come on.
I'm saying we're lacking leadership, right? I thought of the U.S. president. Okay, that's what I thought of. Like shit, the election is on Tuesday. Sorry, that's what my mind was at when you said leadership.
No, for sure. Destiny.
Oh shit. Y'all are killing me. I suck. I'm probably like the worst person to play this game. I almost said Destiny's Child, but
that's a good one though.
Okay. Is Destiny is pass. Go to the next one. We'll come back.
Purpose.
Live it. Live in it.
Fulfillment.
Love. I feel fulfilled when I'm loved.
What about Black wealth?
Intergenerational.
And financial freedom?
Man, listen, opportunity. Opportunities.
What about destiny?
We're going to go back to destiny. Okay. Well, destiny. Well, I don't know. I also thought of Destiny Blue. Rest in peace, Destiny. Oh my God, why am I coming up with a word?
I think you're destined for greatness and some things that you have in store that not only myself, Martinez, and other like-minded individuals, we're looking forward to seeing what the end result of your journey is like. And we just know that within that destiny or that desire that you have to uplift people, to share your story, to spread real, genuine love, that you're gonna reach those things. And so we'll cut it off right there. This was all set
up for you to answer that, so you can say all those kind things. So I appreciate
no big facts.
And this is
that's my takeaway. That it's important to me because my thing, like I told you via IG, we was gonna go at that relationship thing.
Yeah,
that's the lost art right now. That's swept under the rug. Nobody cares about Black men and Black women. It's a separate thing right now. It's either Black women, which are being exploited or, brutalized or, neglected, or Black men.
Look at
it's
everything.
Not spoke on as a household.
I don't mean to cut you off. I'm sorry, Kim, but just look at everything that every time something is highlighted on social media, it always comes back to Black women will do this and Black men wouldn't do this if it was the Black woman. Like it always come back to a debate between Black men and Black women. So I think it's embedded in art. They're starting to make sure it's embedded in our head that we are opponents, and that is a major issue. Like even with and this may be true, but this is the perfect time for us to come together. When Breonna Taylor passed away, rest in peace. Well, when she was murdered, rest in peace. The debate was, where the Black men? The Black men didn't do this. If it was the Black man who was murdered, the Black woman would have stood here. And yes, that is a conversation we have to have, but we have to learn, like in situations like that, we have to come together and not debate against each other.
And that's that destiny. That's the root word of destination. We all on our way somewhere. We on this fantastic voyage to reach a certain destination. And what comes with that is manifesting our destiny. So we appreciate you being someone that's, diving deep into who you are, that's being vulnerable with yourself, that's being honest and authentic with you. You've been with yourself the whole time. You know your whole story.
Whole story, honey.
Piece of it as we go. So we thank you for making it through. We give you love and appreciation and give you all the positive vibrations that we can send to you, so you can continue going in the right direction that you have already outlined for yourself, so you can reach your destination and ultimately manifest your destiny.
Absolutely. I appreciate y'all. I appreciate y'all black men, y'all amazing black men.
Man, for sure, Steph. We appreciate you more than anything for your time. I know that you had some could be doing some other things and got some priority sweaters or hoodies to print up, or got a event to go host. You know what I mean? Shout out StephCrosley.com and the priority movement and all the great things that she's doing on Real Talk. And just the platforms that she has to uplift others. That's what this podcast is for specifically, is the uplifting and storytelling. And so, you done your thing. I told Tinez, I said, I know that we're going to get some authenticity out of Steph, and she gonna do some great things on the podcast with us, just specifically within the time we have with you. So, and I'm grateful. I'm thankful that I know some cold people. You know what I mean?
Amen. Thank y'all.
On the next episode of Think Like a DJ, the Mixtape Podcast,
we step into the cypher with hip-hop artist, producer, and global thinker 36.
as he discusses the power of black music, the black arts movement, and the importance of black expression in moving our culture forward.
If your life were a party, how many would RSVP?
If you only live once, will your one party become a party of one?